Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller, the podcast. I'm joined by Seth.
Hey, welcome, guys. Thanks for finding us on the internet.
Now, these shows originally aired on Brookings Radio, but now they're all here for your enjoyment. I hope you like it.
There you go. Sit back, enjoy the show, relax. Let us know if you want to see anything on future shows. As we said, this comes out live in the Brookings area, but enjoy this archive episode.
Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. This week, craft beer in South Dakota. The roots go back a ways, but the real action has been in the last few years with an explosion currently underway. We'll get to beer actually brewed in South Dakota, but we begin with the availability of craft beer. Until relatively recently, you couldn't find much craft beer in the state. Now, there are literally hundreds of different beers you can try.
Absolutely amazing. Even 3 years ago, I wouldn't have even fathomed some of the beers that we can get now here locally and regionally. So many absolutely fantastic breweries that are popping up.
That's Brennan Sullivan, co-owner of Pints and Quarts in Brookings. Now, he's been involved in the craft beer scene for years. Sully says there are a few brewers who started it all off.
Sam Adams was one of the first ones that you could get here, and for years it was Boston Lager. And then you could get sampler packs, but you couldn't find these things in bars. And then some of the stuff started coming in kegs. And then eventually, a few of the non-craft, specialty brewers came to town. And then we started getting some of the Colorado brews, the New Belgium, and then the Odell's came. And once those two kind of kicked the door open, it's just been a flood of fantastic beers.
Now there's also a growing number of South Dakota brew pubs and brewers.
It's only been about 6 years, 6 or 7 years that there's really been a big scene here. And since then, we've got dozens of breweries that have been up and coming. We've got probably a handful more in planning. So much so that there's actually been a Black Hills Wine and Brew Trail map published just to sort them all out if you end up out in the Black Hills.
Seth Koch, head brewer at Wooden Legs Brewing in Brookings, he says there's a spirit of cooperation among South Dakota brewers.
Crow Peak Brewing Company will always have beer on tap at Wooden Legs Brewing Company. We'll always have them because when we started this project, we went out there and Jeff and Josh kind of took us under their wing and said, we need craft beer in South Dakota to succeed. And in order to do so, we need you to succeed. So here's tips, here's gotchas, here's things that we could do. They went as far as to sell us a grain mill just to get started.
Coming up, more on the firm at the forefront of South Dakota beer, Crow Peak Brewing.
Beer. I like it ice cold. Hell yeah, I'll take it with a lime. Canadian, Mexican, Heineken, American.
Welcome back to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. As far as anyone knows, the Firehouse Brew Pub in Rapid City was the first to make craft beer in South Dakota, opening back in 1991. The first modern brewery to begin distributing their beer statewide and beyond was Crow Peak Brewing of Spearfish. Jeff Drumm is the founder and brewmaster at Crow Peak. He says they started small back in 2007.
Started on a little 5-barrel system in a little small tap room that accommodated maybe 20 to 30 people, and sold everything on premise, so I didn't do any distribution at that point. And we kind of built up a following, which was encouraging. And then in 2009, we brought on our partners, Josh Fritz and his wife, Tanya.
That allowed them to expand, add a canning line, and begin distributing their beer. Wooden Legs and other South Dakota brewers have gone to Crow Peak for startup advice, and Jeff says they're happy to help.
Happy to help them out. I think the more the merrier. Need more choices here in South Dakota. I mean, if you look at places like Colorado, California, Portland, they're all, they just have a huge amount of numbers of breweries, and granted they're higher population areas, but there's room here in South Dakota for more as well, and I'm happy to help people get going.
He says they're looking at another expansion in the next 2 to 3 years. Their flagship beers are their 11th Hour IPA and Pile of Dirt Porter. You can pick up Crow Peak beers at Brookings Liquor Store, so says beer guy Drew Ekelund.
They have some really good offerings. We have their full line. Occasionally we'll be out of one or the other, and We usually get them back within a week or two.
Pints and Quarts of Brookings has brought great craft beer on draft to Brookings. The Mike Handle beer for this week is in honor of a couple of brewers who helped kick open the South Dakota door to craft beer.
It's really a paid homage to those that really opened up the door for a lot of people that appreciate craft beer in South Dakota. So this week we'll be featuring the New Belgium Odell Faux Collaboration Ale, which is an American Pale Ale. Just to basically give back to them to say thank you for opening up the door.
It's great beer. Just say you want to try the Mike Handle beer, the one with the microphone for the tap handle, just like our logo.
In heaven there is no beer. That's why we drink it here.
My Beer Untapped pick of the week comes from Wooden Legs Brewing and is my favorite South Dakota beer, at least so far. Split Rock Creek is a lovely pale ale with some nice citrus hops up front, balanced by a solid sweet maltiness. It's their signature beer and is mighty tasty. Try a glass of Split Rock Creek Pale Ale at Wooden Legs in Brookings. Hey, that's it for another edition of Beer Untapped. Remember, drink local and drink responsibly. Next week for the 4th of July, American Craft Beer Pioneers. Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Thank you for listening to this archived edition of Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Feel free to listen to other episodes, and if there's anything you'd like us to talk about on a future show, please let us know. Thanks again.